Welcome to the Lutronic webinar about the Clarity 2 with IntelliTrak technology. We're very pleased tonight to have a speaker, Michael T. Somenek. He's a double board certified facial plastic surgeon in Washington, D.C. Dr. Somenek completed an intensive fellowship in facial plastic and reconstructive surgery at the University of Illinois, Chicago, with Dean Toriumi and Regan Thomas. As an author of multiple peer-reviewed journal articles and textbook chapters, he is regularly asked to speak internationally on his expertise regarding energy-based devices and other facial plastic surgery topics. Dr. Somenek is also the primary investigator for a number of clinical trials, including those with the FDA to expand indications for many devices, continuing to contribute extensively in his field. We at Lutronic are very pleased to have him speak about the Clarity 2, and I will turn it over now to you, Dr. Somenek. Go right ahead.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to speak to all of you about the Clarity 2. This has been a device that we've had in our practice for about 16 months now, and it has been a game changer for many reasons. So let's jump into it and explore the Clarity 2 a little bit further. So it has several advantages, and when I was looking at a platform for specifically laser hair removal, I was looking at something that was offering us a newer technology, but that could offer a faster laser hair removal without compromising results. And this is where the Clarity 2 really came in. And it really is the highest powered 755 and 1064 nanometer platform for laser hair removal. I'll go into this a little bit deeper in the webinar, but you really can go up to 2 times faster than some of the more standardized laser hair removal devices out there, mainly because of the larger spot sizes and your higher repetition rates. You can also achieve better results with the higher fluence. And so I've found that myself, both personally and on my patients, that delivering that higher energy really does require less treatments to get the results that you're looking for. And again, we'll kind of go into this a little bit further, but you can drop the pulse width down very low to treat those finer hairs that traditionally have been stubborn with other laser hair removal devices. So this is a video that's basically demonstrating, I'll turn the volume down on that, the all digital power supply with this. So you can see it's very intuitive, the design of it. You can easily adjust between what your pulse width is, how much fluence you're going to be delivering in terms of your energy, and also your pulse rate. So the reason why you can get this to move much faster than traditional devices is you can move the repetition rate, that pulse rate up much higher, but simultaneously deliver a sufficient energy that's going to give you that perifollicular edema that you're looking for as your endpoint. And as you can see here, you can move between the spot sizes almost effortlessly. So you're at 18 now, and by just moving it 1 notch up in the handpiece, you can go to 22, which is the pretty standard size that we use for laser hair removal. Now this is the handpiece. And again, ergonomics are everything when you're using these types of devices on a daily basis. And so I'll walk you through a little bit about what it consists of. You have your standby ready button. So you can not only click ready on the actual device, but it's all localized within the handpiece. So it's great if you're not standing directly by the device or it's draped over the patient. You can go from standby to ready by just a click of a button. And obviously you have your finger switch. So you are not reliant on a pedal to work through the treatment. And then the LED feedback light comes into play with several technologies on this device. The IntelliTrak tip, which you see featured here, is what really makes the laser hair removal a seamless procedure or treatment. And as you're moving that LED feedback light is letting you know if you are going too slow or too fast. So this is a closer look at that. And what makes IntelliTrak technology important here is that not only does it give you consistent overlap, and you can choose how much overlap percentage you want. Most frequently, it's around 18%. But it allows you to be very consistent and algorithmic at how you're doing this. And it's constantly monitoring your speed with that magnetic roller. So it's ensuring that you are moving at the appropriate speed and giving the most appropriate coverage to the given area that you're treating for laser hair removal. And this is sort of, I consider this, that popped up almost like your odometer. And it tells you if you're going too fast. If you're going too fast, the light turns red. And similarly, if you're not going fast enough, that it doesn't light up. So it can really give you constant feedback as to how you're moving along. And this is a video that's demonstrating the IntelliTrak technology. And it's actually, what's recommended is you draw lines to kind of create little tracks. And this is on the legs specifically. And you can see how effortlessly Dr. Friedman is using this handpiece to move up and down the leg. And look how fast that the treatments are actually being achieved. And you can see here, if you look closely, it's blowing cryogen. So that is part of this device as well, is that it has cryogen in it that is blowing on each pulse, which for any of you that have had laser hair removal without the cryogen, you know that it can be a little uncomfortable, but this creates a much more comfortable experience for the patient and the person that is giving the treatment, because it's that much more comfortable of an experience. So this is sort of a schematic, conventional freehand on something that doesn't have that IntelliTrak technology. You can get overlap, but it's not consistent because you aren't monitoring it that closely when you're doing it. So as you're moving your handpiece along, you're getting somewhat of an overlap, but it's not as consistent as with the IntelliTrak. So this is a good example of conventional freehand, 18mm spot size at a little bit of a lower hertz of 2.0. And what the IntelliTrak does, though, is see, as you're running, it's giving you the consistent overlap that you want. As you're moving up and down the tracks that you've created on the particular part of the body that you're using, with your larger spot size, your 22mm spot size, and your higher frequency, you're able to get through this treatment much faster, much more comfortably because of the cryogen, and much more even coverage. So this is a video that was taken actually comparing two different laser hair removal devices. One is the Clarity 2, and the other is a competitor's device. This has been filmed in a 2x type of setting, so they're moving through the treatment just for the sake of the video. But you can see with the IntelliTrak how quickly you can move up and down the leg and really treat an entire leg in less than 5 minutes. And you know that the other provider is moving along with her manual handpiece, trying to get consistent overlap and getting a fraction of the surface area in the amount of time that this video was recorded. And when you look at the actual surface area, you're getting almost 11.4 centimeters squared per second with the Clarity 2 versus 5.1 with the other handpiece. In addition to it being super effective, it's a very easy to use platform. I do consider it very intuitive. We have an esthetician that does a lot of our laser hair removal here in Washington, DC, and the ergonomics of it make it very user-friendly. And you can go between a wide ranges of spot sizes. Now, for laser hair removal purposes on large surface areas, you're not going to use those smaller spot sizes. Those really come into play when we are talking about targeting discrete pigment, any telangiectasias, and the laser toning, which I will go into a little bit later and show you a video for that. And it does give a small footprint, so it has very fast touch parameter changes when you're touching the screen. So if you want to switch between spot sizes, energies, the calibration or the auto calibration is very effective and very fast. This is a demonstration showing you when you do change your settings and you want to go to ready from standby, it takes about 10 seconds. And so you can see clicking on that on the handpiece where you have the ability to do that, to put into ready mode. So calibration is in progress, and that is about 10 seconds. to go from standby to ready, which is great for this type of device and very convenient for switching between different parameters and settings. This is a closer look at some of the aspects of the handpiece and the design. So what just happened is the IntelliTrak was removed. The other little depth parameter was added on, and you have a little treatment window, which is removed between treatments because it can get a little bit dusty or dirty. And so you put a new one in, and also switching between the spot sizes. So not only have we changed the depth, the spot size, and the settings within under 30 seconds. And again, single platform, so very easy to use and very convenient for anyone that's using it within your office. Now, these are some before and afters of some things that can be treated with the Clarity 2. And this is a great before and after of just laser hair. So the 755 was used on the pretty standard 20mm spot size. You can see the fluences and the cryogen settings that were used along with the pulse width. And this is a very, what I consider a typical result in someone that's a good candidate for laser hair removal, and somewhere between 4 and 5 treatments later that you can get very long-lasting permanent hair reduction, over 90% of the follicles in the treated area. Now, this is the other thing that really differentiates Clarity 2 from any other laser hair removal device. And again, Dr. Friedman kind of pioneered this type of setting for the machine, but he dropped the pulse width down to 1 millisecond and experimented with, obviously, a lot of patients had treatments with this to find out what was the ideal treatment zone in terms of fluences, etc. And he saw really great results with what would be otherwise considered very stubborn or untreatable hair with other laser hair removal devices. And this is after 1 treatment, which is pretty incredible. Now, this is the clinical endpoint that he started to see, which we all would like to see this. This is what I consider a good post-treatment appearance of the skin after laser hair removal, that pretty diffuse perifollicular edema in the area that's treated. And he started to see this with that very fine villous hair with the settings I just shared with you. This is a larger diagram of some suggested parameters for the Clarity 2, specifically when you're talking about that 1 millisecond pulse width for the fine facial hairs. Now, not only is the Clarity 2 really effective at hair removal, but it's versatile as well as a platform at treating pigment, certain vascularities, telangiectasias, angiomas, and also the laser toning, which I'll share some experience with you on that as well with the 1064. Now, this is a venous lake that I had treated in one of my patients. He had sort of one that was more lateral, that was larger, and a very small, discrete one more centrally. And this is after 1 treatment. So obviously a very comprehensive, effective treatment that this was a week later that I had seen him for this, that they're gone. And I've seen him in subsequent visits and still doesn't have any return of any of the venous lakes in the lip itself. But I did use a 3mm spot size, the 1064, the ND YAG setting, and about 180 joules were used. And that pulse width, because you're treating something very vascular, that pulse width was a little bit higher than what we were just talking about with laser hair removal settings. This is a great example of nasal telangiectasia, as I feel like I see these more and more. But this is after 1 treatment as well. So again, very comprehensive, very effective, small spot size, high fluence, high pulse width in order to achieve these types of results. Now, again, you'll see the cryogen settings, and it really does make the treatment, whether you're talking about laser hair or targeting some vascular abnormalities, that short burst of the cryogen really does effectively cool the skin and create the sensation that you're not feeling the heat as much as you normally would with other devices that just don't have this technology associated with it. This is a great example of an angioma that was also used with the ND-YAG 3mm spot size. And you'll notice that it's a slightly higher energy that it took to do this, but that pulse width is still a little bit higher. So you're able to capture the entire angioma in one treatment. Now let's talk about the skin revitalization and what we are calling laser toning. And it's a very effective treatment at getting the skin up to the ideal temperature that we know stimulates collagen, which is about 42 degrees Celsius. So if you'll see the handpiece in the upper left-hand corner, it has the depth gauge on it that helps you keep the handpiece at a pretty consistent distance while you're delivering this treatment. But it also has real-time temperature ranges that come up. And so if you see the screen on the right side, it has certain 33 to 47 degrees Celsius. So obviously you start with the 1064 moving along the skin. And as the skin starts heating up, the handpiece is giving feedback to your screen to let you know that your temperature is going up further. So the second LED is 38 degrees. You start to get at your ideal temperature at the first yellow LED. You're starting to get a little warmer than what you really need, but it's still allowing you to continue if you desire and the patient's tolerating it. And then if you do happen to get hotter than 47 degrees, that tells you you're in the red. So that's a temperature that's not ideal. But what's even better is the lasing is disabled. So it's a safety feature where if you're going over the temperature that could potentially burn the skin, it's not allowing you to continue treatment any further. So that's a really nice built-in safety mechanism that not every device has, that you're doing this type of laser toning technology. This is an example of us demonstrating kind of what that means when the laser toning is happening. So you can see that it's delivering multiple pulses. Your pulse rate is very high. It's at 10 hertz for this. And your pulse width is very low with low energy as well. But as the handpiece is moving, you see it's going between 42 and 47 degrees. And that is the ideal temperature that you want to get the skin up to do effective laser toning. So in summary, the Clarity 2 is really one of the highest powered devices out there with 755 and 1064 nanometer platform for laser hair removal. I really do think that with a lot of the things that we talked about, with the capabilities to target fine vellus hair and to do your laser toning and all the other capabilities that you can have with this are really great. And it's a really advanced, easy to use platform. So let's go into a little bit of why I chose Clarity 2. I think I touched on a lot of these, but it's good to just review them for those that aren't familiar with this device. And this really is a device that's consistent with our premium brand services. Now, we consider ourselves a concierge boutique plastic surgery practice. So we have a higher end brand associated with the practice in general. And this device really pairs nicely with it because I'm a very results-driven type of individual. And we see very consistent results with that. And that's the most important thing to me. If I'm getting quality results with my patients while maintaining the highest safety standard. Now that IntelliTrak option that you have for laser hair removal really does enable you to treat large surface areas in half the time or 2 times faster based on your larger spot size and the fact that you're getting much more consistent coverage. What that says to me when you're getting consistent coverage is that you are probably going to require fewer treatments because you're hitting more follicles during the treatment session. And it's a much more comfortable treatment with the cryogen. And so patients are tolerating these treatments much better than being fearful of being in, a lot of pain with standard laser hair removal devices. And then the 1 millisecond setting for those really challenging fine facial hairs. Now, how we market it is sort of more organic than, you know, taking out ads or spending large marketing dollars, because I really don't think you need to do that. I consider this just a nice new addition to our non-invasive menu of services. And it doesn't just attract younger, new aesthetic patients, but it is nice to get that population in, because as we all know, younger patients are coming in for treatments these days, whether it's dermal fillers or, you know, light laser treatments or even peels, etc. So it definitely gets them in the door. It proves to them that you can give them a really effective treatment, and then you can retain them for years to come. And I also think that people love when you video the IntelliTrak technology. They love seeing it because there's not really anything out there that's like it that anybody has seen. And so for them to see that you can, you know, treat the lower leg in a matter of minutes is something that nobody's really used to. So it attracts them and wants them to either come in for a treatment or want to see more. We also do in-office promotions. Word of mouth is beyond one of the best things that's out there. If they can get a quality treatment, they're going to share that with their friends. Now, as far as social media marketing best practices, I think that if you are going to show a video of laser hair removal, if you're going to show a muted video that zoomed in, not really explaining what's going on, it's not going to get very much engagement. But if you narrate the video, walk the viewer through what they're seeing and why this is a really beneficial treatment for them, that's going to attract them much faster. And demystifying that laser treatment and showing them that it's a comfortable treatment is half the battle a lot of the time. And then posting regularly. You know, if you're posting once every 2 weeks, your audience isn't going to really be engaged onto what you are trying to achieve with your brand and your practice. But on the same note, I don't believe that you should just post something just to post, because a lot of the time it's not going to be a very well thought out post and it's not going to be very engaging. So positioning yourself is pretty easy with the Clarity 2 because the machine comes with value, and that value comes with the types of results that you can give your patients. And it's very attractive for not only our established patients, as I said before, but for newer, younger patients that are coming in for the kind of lower price treatments, which laser hair removal traditionally is, when you compare it amongst many other treatments that they can get in the office. And as far as the positive practice impact, I love the device. Our staff loves the device because not only do our patients get good results, but half the staff, if not more, has undergone a laser hair removal treatment. And just getting them to see the results, they share it with all of our patients. So it's a very easy thing for our practice to sell to prospective clients and existing patients, especially since they can now get the laser hair treatment in half the time, as well as a much more comfortable treatment. And we really are seeing around 90% hair reduction in 4 to 5 treatments. I would almost also very cautiously say it may be even less treatments, but for expectation management, I think 4 to 5 treatments is a very reasonable expectation. Now, we have successfully integrated this, and our med spa is booming very organically with laser hair services. We have not tried to match the med spa out there with their prices. We charge a premium for it because we believe that this device is offering you a premium service. So I don't think you need to subscribe to the notion that laser hair removal is a very cheap, commoditized procedure. It is if you want it to be, but it can also be the same high-priced quality services that you offer in your practice currently. I think there's a couple reasons why you can invest in the Clarity 2. For those that are interested in laser hair removal, I think it's pretty obvious. It's 2 times faster in terms of your treatment coverage. The IntelliTrak capability is unique to this device, and no other device has this out there. And that intuitive design with it allows you to get consistent coverage with that consistent overlap. Now, again, you're not just doing laser hair. You don't have to do laser hair removal with this solely. You can do your pigment, your laser toning, and your vascular treatments, which it's been shown are extremely effective. If you use it to the fullest of its abilities, you're going to get an ROI on it much faster. And there is no question that within the time that we've had it, I would venture to say within about 9 to 12 months, we paid the device off fully. And that was mostly with using it for laser hair. And since then, we've become much more versatile in how much we use it and have seen great results with it. And don't forget that you have a huge range of spot sizes. 2 to 24 millimeters is really nice to be flexible in terms of treating small spots for vascularities and larger surface areas for laser hair removal. So I think this statement says it all. If you get better results, your patients are going to be happier. And that is consistent with what our brand is within our practice. So this is sort of a visual summary, if you will, of how a complete platform this is. And I hope you guys learned something from this tonight. I really want to thank you for listening. And I believe we are going to have some questions and answers now.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Somenek. Excellent presentation. I'm going to bring a couple of questions up that we've received, and I'll try to put a few of them out for you to respond to. First is, if you could maybe describe what are sort of the, if there's one or two key things that you think that your practice, especially your esthetician that as a nurse has appreciated the most about the device. You know, what maybe one or two things set the Clarity 2 apart the most in your view?
Yeah, so prior to Ashley, our esthetician, coming to our practice, she had a different device that she was using for laser hair. And it didn't have a cooling mechanism. She was doing an average of 6 to 8 treatments on her clients or patients to get results. And even after that, she was still seeing patients with regrowth. And so when we got the Clarity 2 and we started using it, I mean, the results and the experience was like nothing she'd ever seen, and really nothing that I'd ever seen for this type of treatment in particular. I think the things that really stand out for what makes it unique are that IntelliTrak. I mean, that is used on a daily basis. It really, really does ensure that we get a very thorough treatment of the area that's being treated. And also that cryogen that we use is something that it totally revolutionizes the experience for laser hair removal. And having had a personal experience, you know, years ago, I did laser hair removal on the back of my neck. I've since had some regrowth, and that regrowth happened to be paired with the new Clarity 2. And so I got 2 treatments with it, and I could immediately tell the difference in terms of the discomfort that I really wasn't feeling, even though we were using high energies to really get that perifollicular edema. And we did it in a fraction of the time. So, and I'm really happy to say that I've done only 2 treatments for the regrowth, which it was pretty robust. And I don't have much. I'm due for my 3rd treatment, but there's not a lot of growth. So I'm really happy both personally and what we have to offer for the Clarity 2 in terms of the results we're getting.
Terrific. Thank you. Another question related to IntelliTrak. And of course, we make the geometric claim from just our experiences, but maybe you could go into a little more, maybe some examples as to the so-called 2 times faster. I guess the question is, are you really seeing that? You mentioned during the presentation that, you know, legs now are, I guess you said less than 10 minutes. Things seem to be pretty quick, but are you seeing that advantage really happen in practice?
Yeah, I think there's 2 elements here that make it faster. It's the large spot size. So we typically, as I stated before, use somewhere around the 20 millimeter spot size for it. But then the repetition rate, you know, many devices are somewhere in the realm of 2 hertz. Well, we move this up to 3 hertz. And so large spot size, high repetition rate, and then you have the IntelliTrak that is telling you that you are going at the appropriate speed and getting the appropriate coverage, makes it a seamless procedure or treatment within the room. And you by all means are going through the surface area much faster just with those parameters that are optimized.
Terrific. One question I know that we tend to get a lot from customers, and I see a few people asking about this. What is, I guess, what is the evolving either policy or recommendation and approach for smoke evacuators with hair removal? In other words, do you guys have an approach for this that you think is appropriate? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously in a time when airborne pathogens are a concern with COVID and who knows what else in the future. But I think when you're looking to maximize the safety profile of anything, the addition of a smoke evacuator for laser hair removal, while it's not a requirement, I would say it is a suggested addition to your treatment because, for one, it's inexpensive. I mean, we have the Surgimetics smoke evacuator, a very basic smoke evacuator that I use for my laser resurfacing as well. And they come with stands now or poles that you can just mount the hose on in the area that you're treating where you don't have to hold the smoke evacuator. And I think that it's a pretty inexpensive solution to show patients that you're a little forward thinking in terms of keeping their safety at your utmost priority.
Excellent. A question that this often shows up a couple times here, and that is about, I guess, the maybe how would you characterize the durability or the efficiency of the consumables? Oftentimes hair removal, because of cryogen and distance gauges, protective windows. What has been your experience or Ash's experience with the consumables so far with Clarity 2?
I sort of joke about this because, when we purchase the device, the consumables really are those protective windows that you get, the distance gauges, and the cryogen. So you obviously go through cryogen during the treatment. And we certainly go through cryogen, but it takes a while. I forget how many pulses you need to go through one can of cryogen, but it lasts for a while. But the other things that we got, those windows and the depth gauges, they still look like brand new. And we haven't had to replace any of them. And I'm not sure that we're going to need to replace any of them in the near future because they are holding up so well. And obviously we take good care of them. So the consumable cost for this device is really, really low.
Excellent. Curious to hear about if you've started to have some experiences. I know that your hair removal business sounds to be going quite well, but I remember you had expressed an interest, and maybe you could speak to, you'd like to maybe start to utilize some of the beyond hair removal capabilities. Have you or Ashley, have you had a chance to try laser toning or try some of these facial rejuvenation opportunities with the device?
Yeah, I've done a considerable amount of laser toning with a different platform in the past. And so this was a great comparison to start doing laser toning with the Clarity 2, because I very quickly saw that I was able to get through, again, the entire face in a fraction of the time. I would almost venture to say that it was more than 2 times as fast because you are using a little bit of a larger spot size. I typically use the 10 millimeter spot size, and that temperature feedback I wasn't getting on my previous device. So I feel that it's a much safer, but also more thorough treatment because I know that I'm getting the skin temperature up to that 42 degrees, which we all strive for in different technologies to stimulate collagen. So I found it an extremely effective treatment, very comfortable. Now, again, you don't use the cryogen cooling for that because you're obviously looking to heat the skin temperature up. So you do feel that warming sensation, but it's a pretty gradual warming sensation. And it doesn't last long because I could do an entire face in about 10 to 12 minutes, where before it was taking somewhere 25 to 30 minutes in some cases.
Excellent. One more question about, or maybe two more I'll sneak in. One is about the this 1 and this 2 millisecond setting that you had kind of described how Dr. Friedman had a lot of experience with this to try to set some suggested parameters for these challenging fine facial hairs. Have you had enough experience at your practice, Dr. Somenek, to either share a short patient story, or have you seen some of those patients that have been able to come in and say, oh my gosh, it really is gone? I'm kind of curious as to how each practice experiences that 1 millisecond setting.
Yeah, so we have began exploring it, I would say, over the past couple months. I let Dr. Friedman get the settings a little bit more concise before I started it, but it is really great. So one example is one of our Fitzpatrick 4, a lighter skin Hispanic individual, male with pretty sparse facial hair. He just always shaved because he never would be able to grow a full beard because it was just so patchy. And so for some of that finer hair that he had, within just a couple treatments, even after the first treatment, you saw that perifollicular edema that I showed you the picture of in the presentation. And so it was very clear to me using that setting that I was stimulating the follicle appropriately with the right energy and with the right pulse width, but also doing it safely, and not putting them at risk for a skin burn or hypopigmentation, given the darker skin type. So yeah, it's been very effective. I haven't done 500 treatments like Dr. Friedman, but in a matter of time, but just talking to patients and letting them know that this is a capability is something that I think many will be interested in. And it's important to point out that no other system provides this type of capability. So that's why fine vellus hairs traditionally, like I said earlier, are untreatable with many laser hair devices because you can't get this setting on that device.
Excellent. Thank you. I guess just one last question, because I think it was pretty profound. You made a statement about the typical number of treatments, right, to achieve that, the oftentimes the expectation about when is 90% of my hair reduction going to be achieved. And I recall you mentioned something in your summary slide comments as well, but a few people have chimed in about, is it really true that you're getting, that 90% reduction maybe in 4 or 5 treatments versus maybe the typical, 6 to 8. You probably have more experience knowing, how that ranges with different patients, but maybe you could just clarify the way you kind of set the expectations and obviously hope to exceed that in terms of number of treatments, let's say for lower legs.
Yeah, I feel very confident in telling our patients that they should expect 90+% hair reduction, 4 to 5 treatments. Now, we're so confident in it that we offer hair removal packages, and it's a series of 5 treatments that if they still have regrowth after that 5th treatment, we give it to them for a fraction of the price because we're so sure that they're going to get a pretty thorough result with it. And, we've probably done several hundred patients just in the past 15 months with laser hair removal, and we haven't had one patient come in and want additional treatments beyond their package. So I think that says it all for me. And again, I'm very results driven, and it has given us the results that we wanted for our patient population.
Boy, fantastic. Well, this is, I think we'll go ahead and close off the webinar here. Dr. Somenek, thank you again very much for your participation in the webinar. Really appreciate your personalization of your experience for the audience. We appreciate at Lutronic those that were able to attend the webinar. We'll also be posting this recording very shortly on our website for those that can follow afterwards. And obviously, please follow Lutronic on our social channels. And again, thank you everyone for joining us. Dr. Somenek, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Good night, everyone.